Here's the agenda. I have 5 tasks in this video. I'll first give self-introduction, and then I'll talk about Asana as a whole, and finally I'll talk about my tasks. First, about me. In the Asana community, I translate contents basically from English to Japanese, and I create quiz. I write some programming codes, and I'm an efficiency enthusiast. And this video is focused on that personality. I'm also participating in the Advent calendar in Japan and in the countdown calendar in English. And today, my English one was just published, and I'm also writing 2 Japanese articles this year. Okay, when talking about efficiency, so it's connected to comfort to me. And that's why I love Asana, and I use it since 2014, and it's my 10th year using it. And also, I'm keen to making things more efficient, even Asana. So I developed some bookmarklets and published them in the forum. And when trying to achieve efficiency, I have 3 principles: free up memory, eliminate busy work, and decide in advance. I'll give you some examples. So instead of remembering things, I let Asana remember it for me, and I always have Asana open to take a note when I want to. And I use keyboard shortcuts instead of mouse cursor, and I set rules or guidelines in advance, and I ignore tasks that don't have a due date. I'll show you an example of using keyboard shortcuts. Let's say I want to add a link of this task in the description of this task. If I use mouse cursor, I'd click copy task link, go back to the task and click here and right click paste. Or I can mention the task by typing some characters. But by using the keyboard shortcut, it becomes easier. So I can activate the address bar with Command L and copy the URL with Command C. Move to the first tab with Command 1, and then highlight the description with Tab R and Command B to paste. This can be this quick actually. Okay, so I hope I was able to communicate what kind of person I am. So why do I do these things? The common theme is focusing my resource and energy into something important. I want to use my brain as the processing power instead of memory, and I want to spend time for real work instead of busy work or work about work. And I'd like to reserve the energy to make decisions for important decisions. Okay, this is it for my self-introduction, marking it as complete. Then I'll explain why Asana is great and effortless. The word effortless is in Asana's mission as well. So it goes, help humanity thrive by enabling the world's teams to work together effortlessly. I'd like to give some examples. So before, Asana tasks were forgotten and we had conversations like, what was decided at the meeting last week, and I don't remember. But with Asana, you can turn them into tasks, and the tasks stay, so you don't really need to remember it yourself. So we can capture action items during meetings, and Asana remembers the tasks. Next, before Asana, we used to click the Save button to save the file locally. But with Asana, the changes are automatically saved to the cloud, so you can focus on your work. And you might wonder, we can simply use Google Drive or Google Doc for that, but Asana is different. Before Asana, we need to choose only one folder for a file. But with Asana, a task can live in multiple projects, and it's called multi-homing. Of course, Google is good at searches, so we could work around the container issue with search. Okay. Next, before Asana, information was scattered around many places, spreadsheets and emails, and we needed to piece together the information in our brain or with complicated Excel functions. It's like planning the route by looking at paper maps, and it's hard. But with Asana, it's clear what to do. Information from various projects are automatically extracted into My Tasks. The experience is like setting a destination in Google Maps, and Google Map is telling you the directions automatically. So I've explained why I think Asana is comfortable and effortless. The good thing is, if you use it in a way that works for you, Asana's impact is further enhanced. So in the next task, I'll show you how to use Asana effectively. Okay, let's write good tasks that clearly cover 5 W's and H. So 5 W's and H is a common concept used in Japan, and I'm not sure how it is in other countries, but they mean like what, who, when, why, where, how. Asana has dedicated fields to store such information, so by filling the fields, you already have the good tasks that have the necessary information to take actions. So why do we need to do that? That's because human beings forget. In a simple experiment where people were asked to remember some random words, they only remembered 50% the next day, and like 20 or 30% in the second day. So tomorrow's myself is like another person. So I want to write kind tasks for myself tomorrow, and by doing that, we can be kinder to others too when we assign them your task. However, it doesn't have to be perfect from the start. You don't need to write the detailed task every time. The important thing is to just jot it down in Asana and unload it from your brain into Asana. So the task is good enough as long as it has the name, assignee, and due date. And when you have time, you can fill in details later. Okay, next, let's set up a spacious area for work. So this image is a bit exaggerating, but I see people working with many screens open, and it looks hard to find a window and information they need. How I work is I use my laptop and external monitor, and I divide it as 3 zones. So the aim is arranging the windows so they do not overlap. And preparing sufficient screen resolution is like having a large desk. It's good to have a large work area. We can also use virtual desktops like this. So multiple workspaces in one monitor. And we can also snap windows to corners with keyboard shortcuts like this. So tabs are displayed side by side without overlapping. Next, I recommend opening Asana in multiple tabs. If we only have one Asana tab, there are many back and forths, like going into inbox and going back to the work that I was doing before. And I recommend opening my tasks and inbox and other work in different tabs. It's also helpful to save tabs as a template. For example, I always have my tasks and inbox in the leftmost tabs in the browser, and we can save default tabs into a bookmark folder, like all the tabs we need when we start our day. And we can right click on the folder and open them all at once. Okay, before moving to the next tip, I'd like to look back on Asana's history. The home tab was built in 2022, and I read Asana said, "We found not many people look at my tasks, and I wondered how Asana would help people to use my tasks." And Asana said, "We created the home tab instead. And from now on, appasana.com opens home instead of my tasks." And I was like, really? Will it solve the problem? And Bastian, probably the most active ambassador in the world, said last year, "I want people to use my tasks, and I want people to use inbox." And I'm saying the same thing today in 2024. Let's use my tasks. Okay, going back to the next point. I recommend using my tasks more than home. If we bookmark appasana.com, it opens home. So I'd recommend bookmarking the specific URLs of my tasks and inbox. Also, there are my tasks widget and inbox widgets in home, but they are overlapping with their dedicated windows. So I recommend using the widgets that are only available on home, which are these 3. Similarly, I'd recommend using my tasks more than projects. Asana is built on the data model called work graph, and the tasks are the hero. The tasks are the nodes of the network. So instead of having the projects and the tasks are all part of them, the projects are just containers or labels attached to tasks. And even though the projects are great to see the work we do together, if we want to see the work we do, my tasks is the place where we go. Okay, next I'll show you how I use my tasks. First, I use Asana a lot as reminders, and recurring tasks, repeating tasks are very helpful. I found that the recurring tasks are most effective for longer term, like weekly to yearly tasks. And some people create very detailed tasks, like cutting your nails every week, but I think there's a clear trigger, and it doesn't have to be a task, but it depends. And I also like having the recurring tasks as a subtask under a parent task. This way it's easier to organize subtasks and go back to see the record of my actions. Okay, moving back to Asana history again, and we are seeing the My Tasks history. So the first version of My Tasks had 4 fixed sections, and tasks moved through the sections based on the due date, and that was done automatically by Asana. And in 2021, My Tasks version 2 was released, and we can now customize sections as we like. But the downside is we need to set our own rules to move through sections, and it's a bit awkward and time consuming. So I think we might be in a time to rethink if we really need sections in My Tasks. And this year we can now add and save tabs. So I'll talk about My Tasks tabs in the next slides. So going back or forward to tips. So we can customize tabs with this plus button, and we can set filter, sorts, group, and options. How I use my Tasks tabs? I use 3 list views and 1 or 2 calendar views. The special thing is I don't use grouping in any of them, so I don't have sections in my tasks. My main view is sorted by due date, and the good thing is I can focus on task execution. So I know all my tasks are in this view, so nothing is hidden in collapsed sections, and I can simply go from top to bottom and complete the tasks, and I can ignore all other tasks. I also create a dedicated tab to see completed tasks which were recently completed. I often want to go back to the tasks I completed yesterday and add a comment there, or copy the URL and paste it somewhere else. And I also have a tab for new tasks, because tasks without due dates are pushed down in the main view, where tasks are sorted by due dates. What I mean is, in this view sorted by due date, when I want to add a task, it's added near the bottom after the tasks with due dates, and this was displayed instantly this time, but sometimes I need to scroll long distance to see the task. So I have this dedicated tab to see new tasks at the top. So I can see here the tasks added from email or Chrome extensions, etc. and I can easily add a new task here and add details like due date and projects. I also check the calendar tab to see upcoming events at a glance. So I think this is the best view to have the visual overall idea. But if I focus only on doing tasks, so these items pile up like overdue tasks and tasks with no due date. I try to finish my work tasks by due date, but these happen especially in my private task because no one would get angry with me. And we have a perfect solution for that in Japan. We do online meeting every Monday. It's a good rhythm to keep my tasks organized. I'm sharing what I do at the event. I organize my tasks by adding and changing due dates, or if I'm not doing something, I'll unassign it or complete it. And I sometimes rethink how to organize tasks or projects when needed. Okay, that's it for my tasks. I hope that was helpful and thank you for listening to this. And I have some recommended tasks for you. I recommend creating easy to use tabs in my tasks. I mean easy to use for you. And I'd recommend bookmarking my tasks and inbox, writing good tasks with clear 5 Ws and 1 H, and creating recurring tasks as reminders, and scheduling time to organize your Asana. I hope this video was helpful and you find some of them relevant to you. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to add in YouTube or in my Asana forum post. Thank you. Bye.